The New Orleans Saints starting quarterback job looks to belong to Spencer Rattler. We got all that and a little bit of lagniappe for you on today's episode of Locked On Saints.
You are Locked On Saints, your daily New Orleans Saints podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, Who Dat Nation and Who Dat family? I am your host, your friend, Ross Jackson, New Orleans native, your New Orleans Saints expert and credentialed member of the media covering those New Orleans Saints as a Saints beat writer over at LouisianaSports.net. And on today's episode of Locked On Saints, whether you like Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shough, good news is you're going to see both in 2025. But to start things off, Spencer Rattler looks to have earned the first shot at the New Orleans Saints starting quarterback role. We'll take a look at how he got it done. We got all that coming up for you on today's show. We appreciate you very much, whether it's your first time or your next time, being here with us this time, making us your first listen, and being an everydayer here on the show, which is a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. New Orleans Saints quarterback Spencer Rattler looks like he's going to get first crack at the starting quarterback job. However, Kellen Moore could still surprise us all and still roll with Tyler Shough, the young rookie. I think, though, that this conversation is going to come down to two key factors. Obviously, there's going to be things like consistency, the operation, the mental side of the game, all those things that Kellen Moore has been talking about since he took the job as the New Orleans Saints head coach. But even before or even beyond all that, I think there's some key deciding factors, and one of which is going to come down to what the New Orleans Saints prefer more, experience or potential. Because if the Saints like experience, they'll roll with Spencer Rattler to start this season. They have some tough opponents early on in the year. They're in a position to where they could always turn to the young rookie if they want to, if things don't start off well for Spencer Rattler. And of course, you look at the fact that he's got 6 starts in his career already as an NFL quarterback. There is value to that 7 regular season game appearances. But on the other hand, if the Saints decide that what it is that they like more and want to roll with more to begin this 2025 season and continue with their rebuild, get a full evaluation of their young options, then rolling with Tyler Shough could make a lot of sense. But I think the Saints are going to lean on experience. And the reason why I say that is because you look at several other positions and experience is the way that they have gone. You look at corner, Quincy Riley or Isaac Yiadom. They look to be set with Isaac Yiadom. They choose experience over potential. You look back at the running back room, you drafted a guy like Devin Neal. I know that he's been dealing with a hamstring injury, but even beyond that, you look at Kendre Miller, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Those guys bring experience over Devin Neal's potential. Even though Devin Neal has a lot of potential, they're going to choose those running backs, those veteran running backs over the young progress or the young piece when it comes to that when it comes to Devin Neal. And so we're seeing the Saints make this decision all over the place. We saw it at safety too. The Saints drafted Jonas Anker, but then they went and signed Julian Blackmon. And 3 days into Julian Blackmon's lifespan in New Orleans, Julian Blackmon's taken first team safety reps. The Saints keep telling us that they're going to rotate those safeties. They never rotated those safeties, and now Julian Blackmon is your clear-cut starter. At that position, coming in with 5 years of experience. Again, they lean experience over potential. And so for me, as I look at this quarterback position, based on all of that, I believe that the Saints will go again with experience over potential. I sat back yesterday. I didn't do a live show after the game. We did our squad show, and that was good. But I spent the time otherwise going back through. I watched every quarterback snap from the preseason. I went back through every bit of my notes, both hard copy and the published versions of my notes, to see which quarterback really could find an edge. And it's tough to find an edge. I think that there are little things, right? Spencer Rattler completed 70% of his passes over the course of camp, plus the preseason. When you add in all of those numbers, Tyler Shough completed around 61, 62% of his. And so I think you can look at little things like that, but Tyler Shough also threw the ball away a lot more. They both were plagued with drops at wide receiver. We'll dive into a little bit more on that in tomorrow's episode. But just looking at trying to find ways to create separation, the biggest piece of separation is that Spencer Rattler threw 5 or 6 more touchdowns, and then Tyler Shough threw, I think it was 2 fewer interceptions. But Tyler Shough threw the only pick 6 during the preseason. So like the context of the battle and the back and forth and the the pulling and pushing and everything like that, like you're going to be able to find a yeah, but this, yeah, but that, yeah, but this all the way throughout this competition, no matter which way you go. And so you have to find where the division is. And the only remaining big time, very important division is simply experience. Even if you go back to the collegiate years of these two quarterbacks, yeah, Tyler Shough played more years in college, but Spencer Rattler took more snaps, has had more passing attempts, and appeared in more games and went up against SEC competition, which Tyler Shough never did. So again, if you're trying to find a division somewhere, there's an area where you can dig up a division. But how much do you try to bring in from college into this? I don't know, right? Like that's going to be, I'm glad that I'm not the one that has to make this decision. But based on what I'm seeing and based on what I've seen and based on really what all of us have seen, I mean, like a lot of us are all in the same boat here that it's been Spencer Rattler that had the edge going into the Denver game. And it didn't feel like either quarterback really pulled away, even though Tyler Shough had the better performance. There's no doubt about that. But neither of them really pulled away with their opportunity. I think that what you saw from Tyler Shough is his potential. And what you continue to see from Spencer Rattler is kind of a down the middleness, a consistency, as well as the experience that he brings. And so I think with all of that considered, Spencer Rattler is likely the week 1 starter up against the Arizona Cardinals. It sounds like we're going to know more at some point this week. Kellen Moore is expected to speak on Monday, so we'll see if he says anything about it tomorrow. Otherwise, later on throughout the week, once a team kind of goes into its bonus week practices and things like that, we'll certainly hear something eventually. But for right now, it feels very much like this is Spencer Rattler's job to get started. But the one thing that I can promise you is that you will see both of these quarterbacks during the 2025 season. Let's discuss why as we continue on with this bonus episode of Locked On Saints, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Me and some of the other Locked On executive staff are all going to be playing Yahoo Fantasy this year, and you should be too, whether you're a first-timer or you're a veteran that's starting up your millionth league. I've used Yahoo Fantasy for years, and the updates that they're doing just keep on rolling in because right now, to celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 new features over 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they've already just dropped the Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a new killer way to play Yahoo Fantasy where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until one team is left standing. And with the season right around the corner, it's a great time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. But if you're into the classics, you can still play head-to-head private leagues as well as join a public league too. So stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. Today's show also brought to you by our friends over at Rougiette. You've probably heard or maybe even tried things like Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've given them a try, but if you're looking for something that's beyond the usual pill, it's time for you to meet Rougiette Ready. We're talking about a next-gen prescription treatment that kicks in within 15 minutes, while some of those other pills will take up to hours to get started. A 3-in-1 formula that dissolves under your tongue, so it's just a quick tab, and then you've got results that can last for up to 36 hours so you can stay confident and ready should the moment be right. So head over to rougiette.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for 15% off. Rougiette Ready is going to have you ready. It's all done completely online, and you can check out all the different customer reviews as well. Once again, that's rougiette.com/LockedOnNFL, promo code LockedOnNFL for 15% off. And today's show also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. August 26th, that's in just a couple days. Circle your calendars for that because that will officially be FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you the deals that you need on NFL season predictions. Whether you're calling your MVP early, maybe you're eyeing some long shot division winners, or you're ready to crown your Super Bowl champion, all before week 1 kicks off. This is your moment. You want to take a flyer on an MVP? I really like Jaden Daniels. You can also, of course, go with Josh Allen, see if he's able to repeat. Speaking of Josh Allen, those Buffalo Bills, pretty solid bet when it comes to if you want to crown your champions in August. But I like the plus 850 you can get on the Kansas City Chiefs right now. There's a ton for you to check out. So visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because FanDuel Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Let's get it, Who Dat Nation. The New Orleans Saints are likely to see both of these quarterbacks here in the 2025 season. In fact, I would go so far as to say that it would be irresponsible if they didn't. They absolutely have to see both of these quarterbacks, Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shough, during this season. How quickly they do that, how they manage it, that's going to be completely up to them. But they're going to need to see multiple games from each of these players. So I want to go over kind of the different ways that we could see this, because one of these things is very likely going to happen. Let's start off with the most likely scenario, which is that Spencer Rattler starts the season, and then at some point during the year, they simply transition over to Tyler Shough. There would be two reasons to do that. The first of which is if Spencer Rattler is struggling, he's going to have a hard set slate of competition to compete with early on in this season. They open up against the Arizona Cardinals. They take on the San Francisco 49ers, who, to be fair, are dealing with a ton of injuries, so that might actually work in their favor. We'll see how that goes. But then they travel to take on the Seattle Seahawks, and then travel again on the next week across to the opposite coast to take on the Buffalo Bills of all teams. That's a really challenging 4-game stretch to start off your season, and especially to start off your season as a first-time Week 1 starter. Let's not forget that, yes, Spencer Rattler has started NFL games, but he's never been a Week 1 starter before. And so being able to kind of get everything started here right off the bat, that's going to be something that's going to be very interesting to watch. The Saints will then, after those games, start to take on teams the likes of the New York Giants and the New England Patriots. And so an opportunity for some bounce back after some potential struggles earlier on in the season for that young quarterback. So let's say that the Saints go about it that way, and Spencer Rattler potentially struggles through the first 4 games because the team will struggle through the first 4 games. I don't see the team performing incredibly well against most of those teams in their opening 4 games, let alone really just highlighting the quarterback. I think you look at the entire team and there's some deficiencies there. And so coming out of that, a real opportunity to rebound, going up against some of those teams that I just mentioned, the Giants, the Patriots, teams like that. And so at that point, you have an opportunity to see, okay, now how do you bounce back from what has been a bit of a challenging start for you? And then so the Saints could take this all the way down to the bye week, which is scheduled for Week 11. It's not like that's going to change. I don't need to say currently scheduled. Coming out of that bye week, they've got the Atlanta Falcons. Then they travel to take on the Miami Dolphins. They travel to take on the Tampa Bay Bucks. And then they've got the Carolina Panthers, New York Jets, Tennessee Titans, and Atlanta Falcons again to end the season. Those are all pretty manageable situations for a young quarterback coming in and making his first start. And we've seen this before. So for New Orleans, that bye week where Week 11 splits, or where that Week 11 split is, could be an easy point to change quarterbacks no matter how Spencer Rattler's doing, unless he's playing lights out. Obviously, if you're 11 games, if you're somehow 7-4 or 8-3 at that time, which I highly doubt that they will be. But if you are, then obviously you don't change anything, right? Tyler Shough sits back. He becomes a backup quarterback for you for that season. You ride out what Spencer Rattler's kind of got going here. But outside of that unlikely scenario, you can make that change at some point after that bye week. The other thing is, if the struggles for Spencer Rattler early on in the season are specific to Spencer Rattler, then you can obviously make that change even earlier if you want to. But ideally, those struggles are not quarterback-centric. If there are struggles and bumps in the road, it's growing pains, it's a new scheme, it's a new team, it's all these other pieces that are going to end up being a part that contributes to that. That's the best case scenario for New Orleans. But there is a scenario where Spencer Rattler simply struggles, and you make that change after you get through the first 4 games, first 6 games, first 7 games, whatever it might be. Here's the other thing, right? That's assuming Spencer Rattler is named the starting quarterback, which again, I maintain is the thing that I'm expecting, but that doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen. And so if Tyler Shough becomes the starting quarterback, there's still a chance that he struggles early. You go to Spencer Rattler, and then you go back to Tyler Shough. I've heard several people say, you can't do that. You can't go back and forward. You can't start Shough, go to Rattler, and then go back to Shough. And the big question is, why can't you? There's not really a real reason for that. It's just kind of this pesky little thing that everybody has kind of subjected themselves to. That's Not really the case. Yeah, of course you can. Panthers did it last year with Bryce Young. When they put Bryce Young back in, when they went back to him, he played his best football of his career so far, as best as he's played. And so for New Orleans, I don't think that you look at a 27, soon to be 28-year-old grown man and say, I'm worried about your confidence. Come on, this is a dude that has had his season end on 3 different injuries and everything like that, twice on the same injury. And if that didn't diminish his confidence, if that didn't crush his soul, then I think that he's resilient enough to be told, hey, you're not ready yet. Let's work on some things on the background, get you ready. And as soon as you are, we'll get you back out on the football field. That's not going to ruin somebody's confidence. And if it does, that's probably not the quarterback you want anyway. Because here's the thing. There's always the chance, and I would say that there's a very likely chance that we're talking about a whole new quarterback potentially being the starter for the Saints in 2026. Like, unless Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shough goes out there and somehow manages to win double-digit games, or let's say even 7 to 8 games, right? 7 to 10 games. I don't think that the Saints will just sit on their hands and say that they like what they've got. I think that they're back in the market at quarterback again next year, and especially with the possibilities of that next year's draft class. Like, if the Saints end up with a top 5 pick, they should draft a quarterback again. It's that simple. Like, don't stop swinging at the opportunity to address the most important position on your football field. So, yeah, I mean, we might see Spencer Rattler start and Tyler Shough finish. Spencer Rattler start and then them have to turn to Tyler Shough. We might see Tyler Shough, Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shough. We might even see Tyler Shough and then Spencer Rattler, just to make sure at the end of the season, if they have a losing record and they're out of the playoffs, just to make sure there's not something you missed in that and give Spencer Rattler one more chance towards the end of the season. You have to make both of these quarterbacks prove themselves to you, and you need to do the due diligence as the NFL organization to see what you have in both of these quarterbacks before you hit this next offseason. I think you absolutely have to do that. So we'll see both of these quarterbacks in some shape, form, or fashion in 2025. I strongly believe that. Unless one of them is playing lights out, then obviously you continue with that. You don't disrupt that rhythm. But until we see that, completely reasonable to expect that you're going to see both of these quarterbacks in 2025. And that's not necessarily a bad thing at all. All right, coming up in tomorrow's episode, we're going to turn our focus over to the other players that have helped themselves out quite a bit. A few winners from the preseason game, including Kendre Miller locking down the running back 2 spot, Devon Vele showing you exactly why he is valuable, even though he didn't take the field, and more. We got that coming up for you on tomorrow's show. We appreciate you so much making us a part of your day, part of your routine, for saying yes to me and the show. If you see me, please say hi. If you need anything else around your New Orleans Saints in between these episodes, make sure you follow me on your favorite social media at Ross Jackson, NOLA. Hit me up. Let me know how the family's doing. Let me know how you living. Let me know how you momming them. And trust you, that nation. I'll holla at you.